Elite fans, Lee Godson is here for part 2 of the 100 weapon tier list of Pixelgun 3D. Let's begin with 101 through 200 of part 2. The Acid Cannon. This one, would have to say I never used it before, but it's pretty decent for casuals and for beginners, but I never used it. Alien Cannon. This one, kind of iffy, but this one I'm gonna say never used it, but it's also decent for casual players and for beginners. Maybe for 3-cat spam, but I could be wrong, but I'm gonna say it's decent. Alien Blaster, this one's OG and 3-cat spammable. Really good. Alien Rifle, decent for casual players and for beginners. It's also ricochet, same thing as for the Alien Blaster and for the Alien Cannon. This one, never used it before. Alligator, definitely never used it before. The Anti-Hero Rifle, I forgot what the name was called. Anti-Hero Rifle, this one, OG and 3-cat spam as well too. Really good. Same thing as the other weapon, which I'm not going to point out because it's not on the list yet. It'll probably be in the next one. The Bad Doctor. This one, possible for 3-cat spams. It's also an OG weapon, but I'm going to say it's decent for casual players and for beginners. Balloon Cannon, you can get this in Sandbox, but it's really kind of annoying, but I never use this in actual matches. The Plasma Rifle, I never used this weapon before. Bell Revolver, I sometimes use it, but it's really annoying, but I'm going to say it's probably decent for casual players and for beginners when at a low level. The Candy Baton, this one, I never used it before, but believe bots use it as well, but I've never used it before. Chainsaw, this one, never used it before. Charge Cannon, decent for casual players and for beginners if you're pretty lucky on it. When an enemy is at you and you hit them on direct, possible, but I'm going to say it's decent for casual players and for beginners. Not for cat spams, unfortunately. There is actually one tiny little thing as well, too. If you have this weapon, and if you look in the little icon section, in the middle, there's like a tiny little Easter egg that there's actually like a little block right here that indicates like a redstone lamp. I could be wrong, but you guys might want to leave that in the comment section down below if you think it's true or not. Charge Rifle, this one I'll probably say is decent, but not cat spammable because you have to charge it up and it's only one hit. And you can't do anything else about it. Cupid's Bow, never used it in actual matches, but only in Sandbox. Anti-Gravity Black... Wait. Is it Anti-Gravity Black? No, that's the previous one. I think it's Anti-Plasma Releaser. I'm really bad at names, so I'm going to let you guys know in the comments. But if I forget some of these names, I'm terribly sorry because I gotta look this up more often. But I believe this is the Anti-Plasma Releaser. I could be wrong, but this one's an OG weapon. It's also good for cat spams. Maybe, but I could be wrong. But I'm going to say it's pretty decent for casual players and for beginners. Bouquet, never used it in matches, but only in Sandbox. Dead Star, possible for cat spams, but it's decent for casual players. Demo Man, this one, not to be confused with the Team Fortress 2 Demo Man, but the actual Demo Man gun. I never actually use this weapon, but it's actually decent for casual players and for beginners, but I never use this weapon. The Hand, permanently removed from the gallery, but it's just nothing else you can do. It's just actually just a hand, so I never use this. You can only use this in the Sandbox, so it's just permanently removed, you can't find it in the gallery. Dracula, casual for beginners and players and all that. Dual laser blasters, decent for casual players and for beginners. When at low level or at medium range level, like level 20 or 21. But for Dracula, you're gonna get this at level 3 if you want. Pretty easy and all that stuff. When you reach up to like level 10, it's not that good anymore. Dual shotguns, never used them before, and it's not possible for cat spams because it has like a very bad delay on them. Dual Uzis, never used them, but it's also possible for decent casual players and for beginners. Dual Machete, decent for casual players and for beginners for Knife Party. The Electro Sniper Rifle, again, my electricity type. It's a 3 cat spam as well too, it's also a good OG weapon. The Electromagnetic Cannon, also an OG weapon and 3 cat spam. Elf's Revenge, casual players for beginners, but from my perspective, I did have this at mythical tier for the holiday occasion for Christmas, and it's also good for cat spam, so I'm saying in this category right here. Fireball Spell, this one is also possible for a 3 cat spam, but it's also an OG weapon. Fire Orb, I never actually used it, but I'm actually going to say it's actually good for casual players and for beginners. The Fireworks Launcher, Fireworks Launcher, never use this, but it's actually good for Sandbox. Flamethrower, the first introduction of the special category. Decent for casual players and for beginners. The Frank Sheep one, or the Sheepone. I'm not sure how to actually say that name, but I'm actually going to get copyrighted if I say the actual names on those. But this guy right here, decent for casual players and for beginners. Frost Beam Spell, never actually used it. I do believe when it was first introduced, it had like a very it's like a 0.5 second kill. Like if you use this and like kill enemies with the head, it's like 0.5 seconds on this one. But they did actually nerf it so that way they could actually do some work on it. It was actually like a very it was like a buff glitch. So this one I'm gonna say it's decent for casual players for beginners, but I'm not gonna put into OG because it's like, yeah, it was like a very bad glitch, and they did patch it when it was already introduced. Future Rifle, never actually used it. Decent for casual players or for beginners from my perspective, but I actually never used it. Acid Cannon. No, that's not Acid Cannon. The Acid, I really gotta figure out these names. The Acid Sprayer. I'm not sure what the actual name is called, but you guys had to help me out with that one. This one is decent for casual players and for beginners, but I actually never used this before. Ghost Lantern. It's an OG weapon, but you had to be very lucky on it if you want to 3 cat spam on it, because you had to wait for the enemy to come close by, then fire it right away. Golden Friend. It's an OG weapon, but not 3 cat spam, unfortunately. The Harpoon Gun. I think they had like a something. I think it has something else for the name, but I do believe it has the same summary type. But this one, I think just called the Harpoon Gun. I actually never used it, but I did get it from the lottery. Heavy Gifter. This one, I'll have to say, is possible for 3 cat spams, but I'm gonna say it's decent for casual players and for beginners. Heavy Shocker. Never used this weapon before. It's not that good anyway. Hippo. Never used it before. Hockey Stick. It's a sandbox, but I actually never used this in actual matches. Hydra. This one, decent for casual players and for beginners. People may say it's actually OG, but I'm gonna say it's decent because I never seen actually people use it that often anyway. Icicle Machine Gun. This one, I'm gonna say is decent for casual players for beginners. For like it has like a startup sequence because I believe they did change all the machine gun attributes for any weapons that have the machine gun type to actually do the startup to actually get ready to be going, and then it just starts firing away. The Infiltrator, I could be wrong on the name. The Infiltrator, this one I actually never used it. It's like a very fast weapon, but I'm gonna say I never used it before. The Kaboom, decent for casual players or for beginners. I do believe bots use them, but I believe there's another one that has the same similar type for like the little tiny little dynamite, but no. Laser Blast, Laser Bouncer, not Blaster, Laser Bouncer, OG and cat spammable as well too. Same thing as for the laser bow and for the laser crossbow. The Laser Disc Thrower, this one I'm going to say is actually for decent casuals and for beginners. Loud Piggy, I actually never used it before, so no. Thunderspell, it's an OG weapon, but it did get reskinned a little bit, so I'm going to drop this down over to decent for casual players and for beginners. Previously it was kind of like this type of category right here, but they did change it up when they introduced with the Harry Potter season pass on this one, but because now it has like an ammo capacity instead of like have like infinite use, and now it has like ammo capacity for like 7 or 6. So I'm gonna say it's decent for casual players and for beginners now. It is also part of my electricity, but I'm gonna say it's decent, not OG or 3 cat spam. I would like to put it up there, but because I know it is cat spam, but it's a no-go for me. This one right here, the heavy mech rifle, I do believe also it's the same similarity as for the heavy mech robot type for the gadget, but this one is going to be decent for casual players and for beginners. Same thing as for the mines launcher. Minigun pistol, I did actually use this once for a clan task for shooting the backup 600 times. So annoying, but I'm going to say I never used it before. Same thing as Mr. DJ, but it's only for sandbox for Mr. DJ, but for the minigun pistol, I actually never used it before. Mr. Squiddo. This one I do believe you get this at low level category, and you can also use it for Sniper Forge because it has a good area damage, but I'm going to say it's an OG on this one. Mystic Ore Emitter. This one is a old pixel gun weapon. I did not get this one. I'm gonna say I never used it because I can only collect it for like I'm trying to collect all weapons for the game and all that stuff. But I never actually used this weapon before because it's only the common grade category. Nail minigun. This one I actually never used it before, but I do believe it's also good for decent casual players and for beginners as well too. The Napalm Cannon. This one I do believe I also did not get this as well too. It's the same thing as the Mystic Ore Emitter, but I'm gonna say I never used it before. There was actually another one that's kind of like this, but totally different. Nuclear Revolver. This one's an OG weapon, and also good for cat spam, so I'm gonna say it's actually decent for casual players. Nutcracker. Casual players are for beginners, but I actually never used it before. Pencil Thrower. I actually never used this before, but I'm not sure if anyone used this when we're at level 3, I believe. The Dragon Pet. This one's an OG weapon, but not cat spam, because it's also really good for like flamethrowers and all that. If you want to like swap out this original one, you can swap it out for the Pet Dragon. Really good. It's an OG weapon, but I'm not gonna say it's for cat spam, unfortunately. The Photon Pistol, this one I actually never used, but it's also possible for cat spams, but I'm going to say it's decent for casual players and for beginners. The Photon Shotgun, unfortunately, this one's also an OG weapon and cat spammable as well too. Same thing as for the Photon Sniper Rifle, really good for cat spams and also an OG weapon. You can also use this for like sniper tournaments. Because I do believe this one was a secret buff because we did not know about this. It's actually like one hit on the head, even when you put this up at mythical tier, even with max level modules. Pitbull, I never actually used this weapon before. Poison Hunter, never used this before. But I'm gonna say it's decent for casual players and for beginners, and also for cat spams as well. Portable Death Moon. This one was also one of my favorites I really want to get, but I did not get this way Pixel Gun years ago. I'll talk about that later when I get to one of the very, very most weapons I like. But I'm gonna say it's an OG and 3 cat spam weapon on this one. Power Claw, I actually never used this before anyway. The Tactical Rifle, I believe that's what the name is called. The Tactical Rifle. This one I actually never used before. The Impulse Rifle, I believe. I gotta look it up real quick. Rapid Fire Rifle. This one I never used it, but I'm gonna say it's decent for casual players and for beginners. It has like a super fast fire rate, same thing as from the H-Razor, but it's also really good. Same thing as for the Crystal Laser Cannon. Red Twins, never used it, but it's also an OG weapon and also good for cat spams as well too, even for tournaments as well too. Rocket Crossbow, I actually never used this weapon before, but it's pretty decent for casual players and for beginners. Possible for cat spams, but I'm gonna say I never used it before. Ruler Sword, never used it. Decent for casual players and for beginners at low level, but there's actually like higher melee weapons you can still use when trying to like max everything out. Santa Sword, this one I actually never used before, maybe sometimes as well too, but only for like holiday occasions, but I just never used it that often. Semi-auto sniper rifle, never used it. It's like really like not that good at all because it's like semi-auto and it takes a while to like reload and it's like really low damage. Shotgun pistol, possible for cat spam, but I'm gonna say it's decent for casual players and for beginners. The Shuriken thrower, this one I used for like I believe it's possible for cat spams, but it's also like an OG weapon. I'm gonna say it's decent for casual players and for beginners. Snowstorm, I did believe this one was also a sandbox weapon, but I did believe it get removed. But it was now we can still use it for like matches, but not in sandbox, unfortunately. But I'm gonna say I never used it before. Snowball, we can also use this, but I never used it in actual matches, but we can still use it for sandbox. Social Uzi, OG category on this one. Space Blaster, decent for casual players and for beginners. Space Rifle, also same thing as well too. Spark Shark, never used it. It's not good for cat spams, but it is an OG weapon when you get from the Lucky Chest when it was already still introduced, but then got permanently removed. The Golden Friend, Spark Shark, Power Claw, and the Candy Baton, those 4 things were in the Mr. Super Lucky Chest. If you guys know about that, but unfortunately it got removed. You can only get those actual weapons from the tickets. I don't know why I call them tickets. I'm going to say coupons in the gallery. Sub-Zero. This one's also decent for casual players and for beginners. The Sword of Shadows. If you get very lucky on it, I'm gonna say it's OG. If you get very lucky when you're turning invincible and like actually just hit the enemy with one hit, then you're pretty lucky on it. You have to be super lucky, but I'm gonna say it's OG on this one. And also possible for decent for casual players and for beginners, but you gotta be very lucky on them. Tactical Bow, this one is gonna be decent for casual players and for beginners. Tesla Cannon, never used it before, and it's like not that good at all. Tiger, it's a melee weapon, and I never used this weapon. Toxic Bane, it's possible for cat spams, but it's decent for casual players and for beginners, and I do believe maybe bots use them as well too. Toy Bomber, it's an OG weapon, and also good for cat spams. The Trapper, I believe it's called. Yes, it is. The Trapper, not for cat spams, but do believe it's possible for decent for casual players and for beginners. Turbo Pistols, I actually never used these weapons before, but it is possible for casual players and for beginners. Tesla Cannon, is that the name for that? No. Vacuumizer. I actually never used this weapon before. Christmas Destroyer, it's possible for cat spam, so it's also an OG weapon, but I'm going to say it's actually decent for casual players or for beginners, and I do believe bots use them as well too. Zombie Head, never used this weapon before. And finally, Zombie Slayer. Possible for cat spam, since it's also an OG weapon, but it's decent for casual players and for beginners. And that is another 100 weapons complete. This is 101 through 200 weapons of Pixel Gun 3D. I will see you guys next time. I'll probably do part 3 when I get back from town, because I'll be heading somewhere on Christmas. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas season, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye, Lightning Strike.